Hello all and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. I was checking out my analytics the other day and it said that over 70% of my viewers are unsubscribed, so get on it. My name is Ashley Robin and I am currently not prepared to start actually recording with my script. With this being my second recording of the day, I'm just trying to get myself in the proper headspace for another one, and I'm chilling. I hope everybody's having a good Sunday. I'm up to 53 subscribers and I'm manifesting 1,000 because when I hit 1,000, then I can start doing this as a live stream, which would be way more fun. I would love to live stream and just have a dialogue about the cases that we talk about and talk about it while we're all having a smoke sesh or drawing or whatever. I know that not all my followers smoke, but we do have a way of finding each other. It would be a chill time. I gotta tell you what though, I am pretty shocked as to how many people are finding my channel through the algorithm, because I don't think YouTube's gonna like me that much. There's a lot of rules when it comes to being a true crime YouTuber, especially if you have any hope of being monetized, and abiding by those rules means a lot of censorship and decrease in quality of my storytelling. So if you'd like to see me continue this series and expand on it, please subscribe to my Patreon for as low as $5 a month. You can support me continuing to create this content, even if YouTube doesn't monetize me. I also just created a business page for this channel today on Facebook. There's no content on the page yet, and I'm still not promoting it or this channel, but the time is coming. By the time I catch up here with the ones that I'm behind on, I think I'm going to pull the plug on trying to keep this a secret, share it out a little bit, and see how quickly I can reach 1K. Anyway, this is True Crime Time Hop, episode 21. Warning, the following content may be disturbing to some audiences. If you could be triggered by talk of violence, acts of brutality committed against children, murder, arson, etc., please exit the video now and prioritize your mental health. Viewer discretion is advised. Barnett Davenport was born in the year 1760 in the Marial section of New Milford. He was pulled out of school at the age of 9 when his father had him begin work as an indentured farmhand for a local farm. By the age of 15, he was already getting in trouble with the law. He stole a horse from the farmer he was employed by and was soon a convicted horse thief. He attempted to turn his life around by enlisting in the Continental Army to fight in the American Revolution at only 16 years old. There, he served under George Washington and was at Valley Forge, Fort Ticonderoga, and Monmouth Courthouse. But he began to grow weary of the lifestyle of active duty, and on a furlough to visit home, he chose to desert his commitment and never return to combat. He instead opted to life as a drifter and again sought out farm work to make his living. He was offered a job by Caleb Mallory, who owned a grist mill in what is now Washington. There he lived with the family as well, which consisted of the aforementioned farmer along with his wife Jane, his 2 adult daughters, and his 3 grandchildren. On the evening of February 3rd, 1780, Davenport, who was only 19 at the time, would do the unthinkable. He convinced the 2 daughters to go on a weekend getaway, and the unassuming grandparents were home alone with their granddaughter Charlotte, who was 9, and their grandsons John and Sherman, 6 and 4 years old respectively. The drifter approached Caleb as he slept next to his wife and granddaughter in bed. He then proceeded to beat the 3 of them to death, breaking the club he was using in half in the process. When the 2 younger children came out of their room to investigate the commotion, the man who they had come to know and trust assured them everything was fine and that they could go back to sleep. It was at that point in my research that I almost felt a tiny hint of relief, thinking at least some of the children were spared, but sadly, that's not the case. After the boys returned peacefully to their slumber, the assailant took whatever he thought would be valuable for himself, and as he left the house, he torched it The bodies of his 3 victims, as well as the lives of John and Sherman, perished in the fire as Davenport fled unscathed. He escaped on foot and hid in a cave in Cornwall for 6 days, after which he was captured and transported to Lichfield, where he was arraigned. There he gave a full confession. In the confession he told of how he, quote, went into the room where Mr. Mallory, his wife, and 1 grandchild lay asleep. First I smote him with my might once or twice on his head. Upon this, Mrs. Mallory, awaking, attempted to rise up. I turned and struck her 1 or 2 blows. Mr. Mallory then sprung up. I struck immediately at him, but he partly warded off the blow with his arm, and then struck the candle out of my hand. I then pushed him back, and down upon the bed, belaboring him with the club. He asked me who I was, what I meant, and said, "Tell me what you do it for." Then called to his wife to come and help him repeatedly. She cried out bitterly. She called out for me by name, but I continued paying on, feeling no remorse at killing my aged patrons and benefactors. For the children, I seemed to feel some small relentings, without remitting in the least my execrable exertions. End quote. And his confession rambled on and on for 14 pages as he excitedly relived every detail. He had long fantasized about committing murder, and he seemed quite pleased with himself. He was sentenced by Judge Roger Sherman to 40 lashes, followed by public hanging. The road he was hanged on was later named Gallows Lane. He also took his brother down with him because he used his name Nicholas when he enlisted, so his brother wound up being suspected of deserting the army and was even arrested for the murders initially. After Barnett gave his full confession, his brother was let off the hook for the crime, but he was still sentenced to 40 lashes and life in prison for being complicit in his brother's desertion of the military. Nick was also forced to stand right behind the gallows for the front and center view of his brother being hanged on March 8th, 1780. He was then returned to prison, where he escaped and was later recaptured. 2 years after this, he was released. After the killer was hanged, his body was left swaying on the gallows in the breeze to serve as a warning of what happens if you step out of line morally. Word of the Mallory family murders quickly spread across the country and ignited debates about what makes a murderer. As one writer put it, until then, crime was most often seen as the result of common sinners losing their way. Today, Davenport's crime might be ascribed to post-traumatic stress disorder. It does make me wonder how much of his actions as a teenager and young adult were a result of being essentially sold into servitude by his father at the age of 9. What are your thoughts? Thanks so much for joining me for another episode, and until the next one, I hope you have a great day.